What interested you about the organization, and what made you want to come back and be part of it again?
You know, I had just moved up here in '01, and Randy Auberg and Kathy Galswick were eating. I sat down next to them one evening, and they turned to me and said, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I got involved in that. When I was in Chicago prior to coming here, I was involved in some things on the south side of Chicago. Interested in being involved in the community, didn't know how to up here, so this opportunity came around. So the three of us were instrumental in bringing it about. So when I went off to seminary, I wanted to come back and I wanted to get involved again. Dan Worthman was the chair of the board at that time, and Dan, for a couple months before I was coming back, strongly recruited me to get back on the board, which didn't take a lot. I did enjoy being on the board. So I came back, and both at that time we had both governing and the advisory board, so came back to that. And it's just this idea of giving back to the community, being involved in the community. Brainer's a unique thing. Bridge as a Hope is somewhat of a unique thing. We've always said we didn't think you could do this in a larger city, even like a St. Cloud or Rochester. But the size of this community allows it to have an organization like this that can really unite the assets with the needs. So, yeah, I like to be involved in the community. I think it's a very effective organization. I think it's a powerful way of uniting people, and especially the faith community. So, yeah, been excited to be a part of it. Excited to come back to it when I came back. Well, you know, the original idea of the organization was to see if we could find foundations that would support bringing a therapist that would work with families in a church-type setting. That idea was quickly abandoned because we had a much bigger idea. But we were working with the Crow Wing County LAC, and at that LAC meeting that we started to attend to just kind of explore the area a little bit, there was this talk of this need of something that would connect people, because there were all these assets, all these nonprofits, all these different elements in the Crow Wing County area, Brainerd Lakes area, and all this need, but there was no way to sort through it. This idea that a mother with a child that needed some help could spend a whole day trying to dial around and hearing from people, "I'm sorry, your child isn't someone we can really help." There's got to be some way that there's a clearinghouse or some way to bridge all that. So that idea was out there. And we started to work with that, and Pat Shabanda, Linda Erickson of Crow Wing County Social Services were instrumental. You know, when I came here, I knew nothing. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I don't know anything about the area. When we started this, I'd been here 3 months. And so those two were instrumental in trying to figure out what should we be. And then Jerry Walseth, the superintendent of schools at the time, was on. We had put together an advisory committee, which became the advisory board, and Jerry was a part of that. Jerry called me up one time in my office when we were still trying to get this vision down. He calls me up and says, "Hey, you got a minute? Can you come over?" So I went over to Jerry's office, and he says, "You guys are thinking too small." He says, "You're looking at this. You need to think big. You need to take your vision and have it all-encompassing over all services that are provided in the area. That you are the bridge between those. You're the identifier of gaps. That you're the place of last resort. That you are a coordinator of all those things." So Jerry, in that meeting, really took the vision to a different level, and it was out of that meeting between him and I that we took a whole different leap. I mean, we were thinking very small prior to that meeting. So we took that, put it together, went back to the LAC, and kind of talked it through with them. They liked it. So we got an initial $10,000 from St. Joseph's Foundation. That was our initial, but the main funding was $40,000 from the LAC, and then Lakewood provided $30,000. So that was the initial funding that really got this going. And then the next major step was hiring an executive director. Original vision. There are still areas we are still seeking to get at, and one of the reasons we put together the visioning committee is how do we get at those, and how do we make them work, and how does the organization re-energize itself for the next decade? And so I'm excited to hear. I mean, the next board meeting we're going to hear a report in August from that committee, and I'm very excited. I mean, I remember the first client we ever served. That was kind of interesting. We're all, wow, somebody's going to come and see us, and so that was pretty significant. Tammy, look, I mean, just Tammy decided to come to work for Bridges. Gigantic milestone. Life would have been totally different, I think, without Tammy. So that was significant. I think Mark Ronai coming out when he did. When I was leaving to go to the cities, I recruited Mark. I went to his office, said, "Mark, I'm leaving. You're the guy." And Mark definitely had a significant impact. And then just the work between the county is the county got more comfortable with Bridges, and the cooperation that started to develop. Obviously, many of the programs we have today are somehow related to the county. So that's a significant milestone. Common Goods, Bill Brecken saying, "I got an idea," and he and I took he took me on a bit of a tour of the thrift store world in central Minnesota, which was very enlightening. Hadn't been to any, and so that's significant. Obviously, Jana, I think hiring Jana, that is we've had two phenomenal executive directors, and if there's I would pin the success of Bridges on those two individuals as much as anything. And so, yeah, the day we went, from 2 boards to 1, that was pretty significant event. I mean, I remember when we were serving 100 families in a year, and then it went up and up, and then it went over 500, and when it hit 1,000, kind of went, wow.